And then before I begin, I'm going to let you know that I'm going to go ahead and put in the chat box, there's going to be a link for you guys to get Tejano passport points for attending today. This goes towards you earning a medallion. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat box for you today. So we do, again, have Chef Gaddis, Chef Nickerson, and our culinary arts team ready to present. So thank you all so much for doing this for us.
Absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, good. So we're in a really big kitchen right now. We're actually working out of our pastry shop, and we kind of have our setup here, what we call our mise en place. Everything is in its place, so we can go through and do our demo. But just kind of give you a little bit of an overview of what we do here in Culinary Arts. Some of you may have seen us at different events. Some of the things that we're working on behind the scenes, even though the school is shut down. And Chef Nickerson is here. He's our catering manager, our SES manager, who is also helping in some of those efforts. So many, many moons ago, I want to say about 2009, we moved from the Trans Mountain campus over to the ASC. So when we moved to the ASC, we went from one kitchen and we spread out all over to about 8 or 9 kitchens total. And one of the kitchens that we're working in right now is specifically geared toward our pastry program. So those students that have already finished their basic classes move on to these more advanced classes in the kitchen where we have more of that advanced equipment. Even things like this wooden table that we're going to work on today is something that is more advanced and you need to have when you're going to work out in the industry and do basics, do baking and pastries. So very, very important. We also offer 2 different other programs, which are basic culinary arts. So those students actually focus in on the savory aspect of cooking, and we have our restaurant management. Restaurant management, Chef Nickerson is actually helping out with a couple of those classes right now. So we have the food and wine pairing class running, and the viticulture and enology is going on this semester. Food and wine was last semester, so he helps us out with those, and the restaurant management students work on taking care of the guests, basically, the front of the house, making sure we have the reservations in the book, that guests are attended to when they come in to eat at our restaurant. Hopefully sometime soon in the future we'll be open again and you all can come and taste the work that the students are doing. Sorry I can't give you samples over the virtual, right? So you're going to have to come in and have dinner here with us. So behind the scenes we're also working on some other stuff so that it's available to more students. So if anybody here is planning on attending the Mission Del Paso campus or the Trans Mountain campus, Chef Nickerson's working on some stuff, and I'm going to let him go into that in a little bit of detail, and also ask him to kind of cover some of the grant that we're working on, which helps us do these types of events. Chef?
Thank you, Chef. Happy Friday, everybody. I hope everyone is doing okay, that everyone is safe and your families are all safe as well. So, as Chef Gaddis was talking about, we are based here at the ASC B building site, and that's where we have the Culinary Arts program. But we will be branching out. Well, before you had to come to either the Dine & Dash Cafe or 1309 restaurant to enjoy the wares of our students. But we will be expanding, and we will have an outlet in the new Mission Del Campo campus building. And we'll also have a mobile cart that's going to be located at the Trans Mountain campus. So a lot of that product that we will be producing here at this site, and then sending it out in the morning for more students to benefit the work that all our culinary arts students do. And with this as well, we do have a NEPA grant that we are going into for as far as promoting the Advantage Sciences. They participate in the greenhouse and horticulture program, and they also do various community outreach efforts such as this one here. So we have Miss Christina at the bottom, who is going to be helping us out with this. And we're going to be doing 2 recipes today. We're going to be doing granola bars and trail mix. And both of these are designed to be something that you can easily do at home, the ingredients that you can find in the grocery store without any issue. And you can also adjust them to your liking. So if you see us putting certain things in here and you're not a fan of that, you can always take that out and add a different ingredient. But we'll get into that as we go into it. First thing we're going to start is the granola bars. So if you want to go ahead and start with that. And Chef Gaddis is going to talk about the mise en place that we have for this, and how we go about putting this together.
All right, so we're starting out with some rolled oats and some mixed nuts. You can buy whatever nuts you all want. These nuts are not salted or anything. There's no process done to them. They're just shelled. And we're using almonds. We have some macadamia nuts in there, all sorts of different, it's a mixed nut that we buy. So we're doing that and we're mixing those together so that we can have nice even spread while we're going through and cutting the granola bars when they're done. And those are going to get tossed into the oven for a while. We always want to toast the oats and the nuts because that kind of brings out the flavors, the natural oils that are in there. And we thought this would be a good little snack that you could have while you're sitting in class, whether it's a lecture that you're sitting in with your instructor there or you're watching it later on and it's been recorded for you. So that's the granola bars is working already. Is this my mix?
No, that's the mixture thing inside.
Okay, you want to do that? There you go. So we're going to keep on with those granola bars. We got a nice medium heat here. We're just going to kind of remember, like something like honey, it's going to be really sticky and congealed when it's cold. So we want it to warm up a little bit so that when we use it, it spreads itself and coats all over the product that we're going to cover. So in this case, it's going to be those nuts and those oats. So we just melt this down. If you don't want to mess with your stove, you could absolutely probably get away with doing this in your microwave. Remember, butter, you got to do it in small increments, so maybe 10 seconds at a time. And then that way you don't burn your butter ultimately. But you can see really quickly, we preheated our pan, so nice and quick, that brown sugar, the butter, the honey, everything's coming together, okay? If you have some sort of thing where you probably don't need to have brown sugar, like let's say if you're diabetic, you could substitute that brown sugar with something else. If you wanted to use the stevia plant, or if you wanted to use monk fruit, something along those lines, we're just looking for the sweetness basically to come out from that product. Okay. You want to tilt it so you can kind of see? So you can kind of see what's going on there. Let's see. Okay. Yep. And if you got big chunks, you're gonna have to melt it down a little bit. That happens. Trick to the brown sugar is to put a piece of bread in it. So if you put a piece of bread in it and you store it for the next year when you're going to make holiday baking again, that will definitely assist in keeping it fresh and leaving it pliable so it can break down really easily.
And like Chef Guido was saying too, you can substitute some of these items out. You can use agave instead of honey. You can use maple syrup if you prefer that kind of flavor profile. But these two components here, so the oats with the nuts and then the honey with the brown sugar and butter, that's like your fundamental foundation. So you have your dry and your wet ingredients. When they come together, that's what will hold it to stick together. After that point in time is when you can start adding different things that you want. So Christina, I like to use this mix right here. Which one is this called?
It's the holiday trail mix.
Okay, it's the holiday what mix?
Trail mix.
Holiday trail mix for it. So this has a variety of dried fruits in it, and so you're just going to get a bunch of different flavor profiles for it. You can also add chocolate chips into this if you want to. You can add any other kind of item. M&Ms, yeah, you can add M&Ms as well. So like whatever you have on hand, if you like open up a bag of M&Ms and you have like a quarter of it left, you can save that and then mix that into your trail mix as well. So you don't want to be wasting any of the product. But this is where you can take it in whatever direction that you want. As far as that's ready over here.
Should be. Quantity? Okay. So the recipe, we can definitely set that recipe up. I will read it to you right now if you want really quickly while she's going on. We took 2.5 cups of the rolled oats. The nuts, we did half a cup. On the honey, it's only a 1/4 cup. The butter is also a 1/4 cup. Brown sugar is 1/3 of a cup. Vanilla is a teaspoon. Kosher salt is a 1/4 of a teaspoon. And any add-ins you want to do is about a 3/4 cup. So we're going to do that fruit. We could add M&Ms if we wanted to, any other candies, chocolate chips. We could get as crazy as we wanted to on this one.
And with this, this is about the size pan. So this recipe is set up to be about a 9-inch baking dish. And then we just combine these two items together. Okay?
All right, good questions. Keep the questions coming. I can answer as we're going through. So this will be done pretty much in about 15, 20 minutes. We're going to set this up, set it on a pan, press it. It's really good to press it. I'd even suggest if you have 2 pans that are the identical size, put one on top of the other, and then put a canned good or a couple of canned goods on top, and throw it in the cooler so it presses it and congeals it all together really nicely. We have more questions.
Okay. So one thing with when we toasted the oats and the nuts, we did that in a 350-degree oven. And that took about 5 minutes. So you do want to make sure you keep track of it. You don't want it to burn. And you're toasting it, you're just adding more flavor to it. You're adding more depth to the flavor for it. So Christina has everything mixed in here. And she's going to, and then she's going to basically set everything back up in here into this pan.
All right, and I got another question about why we use kosher salt. So usually when we're doing baked goods, we're going to use iodized salt. When we're doing savory cooking, we use kosher salt. And the reason is because, number one, you're going to get a larger grain of salt, and it doesn't have that iodine flavor, which is why it's called iodized, to it when you're baking or cooking. So it depends on what your final product's going to be, but ultimately I prefer kosher salt because it does break down. It has a smoother flavor than our iodized salt. If you ever just get a little bit of iodized salt, you know how you get that astringent flavor in the back? When you do the salt, kosher salt, it doesn't have that iodine flavor. So that's why we typically stick to kosher salt in the savory cooking.
Can you use sea salt?
Yes, you can absolutely use sea salt. That's another good option that you can use. And again, it doesn't have that iodine flavor at the end of it.
So as you can see, Christina, there's evening out the mixture here. You do want to work it just efficiently through this process. After this, we're going to set it in the refrigerator to cool down. And as it cools, that's where like the honey and the butter and the sugar mixture together will set. And that will like set up into the bars that we can fit into later. So just use your best judgment on this. If you want to make super thick bars, you can do that. If you like thin ones, that's your prerogative for that. And we'll go ahead and pop this into the pan.
All right, so like we did on this recipe that we just finished, we could absolutely toast everything on a saute pan, which is basically what I'm doing here. So I've taken some pumpkin seeds, some mixed nuts, just like we did earlier, and I'm just putting them on the saute pan to toast them out a little bit. And this is going to be for our trail mix really quickly. We also have some chai seed on this one, so we're going to toast that up a little bit. And it's at a low heat, okay? The key on this is just to keep it moving, keep it mixing up. If you will feel more comfortable with the spoon, go for it. I always tell my students, don't use metal on metal, right? We don't want that metallic flavor kind of rubbing off from the pan and the spoon if you have a metal spoon. So try to stick to something that's plastic or rubber, so that way you don't get that metal flavoring. And then in our separate bowl, we're going to actually take some chocolate chips and some dried fruit. The dried fruit has a bunch of good stuff. And if you're wondering, we ordered this from a place called Mount Hope in Phoenix, Arizona. And it's got dried papaya, dried pineapple, cranberries, golden raisins, regular raisins. What else? Guava. So all sorts of good stuff is mixed in there. Just depends on the flavor profiles that you're looking for. Okay, and then we're going to also throw some pretzels in there. And once these nuts are nice and toasted, the seeds and the nuts. Yeah, well, we talked about that. So I know it would be awesome if you were here, right? Because then you could actually smell what I'm talking about. We're trying to activate those oils that are naturally found in the nuts and the seeds. And right now, it's screaming of that right now in this room. So it's actually doing what we're looking for. We don't have anything burning. We're getting that aroma coming out. And that tells me, hey, we're done. We're ready to go. So with that aroma coming out, quick mix. Looks like Chef's done this before. Once or twice, actually.
Not a practice. So when you're doing this, what's nice about this is you can come up with any flavor profile that appeals to you. So I know that I love trail mix, and if I ever get it in the store, there's always one or two things in there that I don't want to have. And so this gives you the freedom to adjust those components. So what you're looking to do is balance flavor. So what you're tasting is your sweet, sour, salty, and bitter that you have. And within this, though, you have your chocolate, which gives you actually a bitter component to that. You have the nuts that gives you like the saltiness along with the pretzels. Then you have the fruit that's giving you the sweetness for that. So you're looking to adjust your components to achieve that kind of balance. So the best way they always go about doing this is just taste all the time. Like we tell our students, taste all the time. Even if it's something you've never made before, just taste it. And then determine whether or not you think that tastes good, whether or not you think that tastes balanced. And that's the best way to develop your palate. That's the best way to develop what you like. And then the small adjustments that you can make with these kinds of recipes. They give you a lot of freedom to put different components in and out of it. So I'm going to grab the granola.
The trail mix is done now. We're going to go back to that granola that we stuck in the fridge. We did a little bit of TV magic, so don't think it happens that quickly. We actually made one ahead of time. It's going to be the one that we made ahead of time that we're going to take out and cut. Bam! Set up. Yeah, bam. Good job, Emerald Agassi over there. And we're going to go through and start cutting up this into bars. And again, that flexibility, right? You want to have a huge bar because you have a long day of sitting in class or studying or reading, or do you want little thin bars that you can come back to on, munch on throughout the course of the day? Yeah, don't listen to Rachel Ray. She doesn't know how to make pozole. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. They know? Yeah. I can see this one.
Yeah. So this is, as you can see too, it all congealed together, and it's set just by setting in the refrigerator. This took about 30 minutes to reach this point. And at this point, it's like, it'll still be soft and gooey, so you can cut it. And then at this point, like Chef Garrett was referring to, you can cut it whatever sizes you want. If you want to have a large granola bar for lunch, if you can even cut it into little bite-sized pieces, if you want to have like a little snack bag to go out over the course of the day. She was cutting them in about 1 inch depth, and then she'll go back there and probably cut these in half to get the actual bars. And then for that,
You want to wipe it or you good?
we'll go down the middle there.
No, I was going to do solid.
And you actually hold a little more Christmas that you got cut off. So, yeah, hold on, let me just get a little bit closer to where the camera is. So, you see, like, that's the length of the bar that she did. If you turn it, that was the depth. So, that's about the size of a granola bar that you would get from, like, Nature Valley or something along those lines. But you can still go whatever route that you want to go with for it. And then just wrap them up, as Chef Yetta is doing right over here on the side. And then you have those stacks. And these will hold pretty well, too. You don't have to worry about trying to eat this entire pan of granola bars in one day. But what other questions do you guys have about what you have seen so far?
Is it better to use
Foil or parchment?
Either one of them works. Your call.
You will need like something though, because it'll help you get it out to flip it over onto a cutting board.
Plastic wrap will even work.
Plastic, yeah, because you're not going to the oven. Plastic wrap is fine.
Good question. Any other additional questions? All right, by a show of hands, who's going to make one of these recipes? All right. Very good. So any questions, anything else you guys thinking of, any ideas, what would you put in your own granola mix when you make it, or your own granola bar? Cranberries, definitely, yes. Also, again, with the granola bar, you don't have to make it like this. You could actually take these bars and crumble them up, so you have like little chunks, and then you can sprinkle it over your yogurt, or you can use this kind of like as your spoon if you wanted to with your yogurt. So all sorts of stuff. Pistachios are good, definitely. Can you repeat quantities? Absolutely. The granola. All right, so the granola bars, we're going to go with 2.5 cups of the rolled oats. So you can go and buy your Quaker oats, mix those in there. The nuts, we're going with 1/2 cup.
And again, that's any mixture or what kind of nuts that you prefer for that.
Fruit Loops, yeah, definitely you can go with some cereal. Honey's 1/4 cup. We're going to take butter at 1/4 cup. We always use unsalted. Again, we want to control the salt that's going into our product, so we'll always use unsalted. The brown sugar is 1/3 cup. And we went with vanilla on this one since we had that holiday fruit mix with 1 teaspoon. Again, this is something you can play with. If you prefer mint extract, then go with mint extract, or coconut extract, almond extract, whatever flavoring you feel more comfortable with. There's another area you can play around with. The kosher salt we went with, again, if you want to use iodized, there's nothing saying you can't. I personally don't like it just because of that flavor, but that's 1/4 teaspoon. And then any other add-ins you want to do is 3/4 cup. So if you wanted to add your Fruit Loops, your M&Ms, your Reese's peanut little M&M shake things, go for it. That was it. Do we have any more questions, comments? Yeah, we can leave the trade curbside for you, absolutely. We'll give you the deposit bank account number for the SES program. Thank you. This is all Chef Nickerson's recipes. All right, do I hear $10? Option it off. Yes, you can do some cayenne. If you want to make it spicy, absolutely. You can sprinkle in some cayenne pepper if you'd like to. I would do it when that part where we're toasting the nuts. Again, activating the flavors that you're looking for, but don't go crazy. We can absolutely do more of these sessions, of course. This is going to be the most expensive trail mix I've ever sold in my life.
Some gold leaf in the chat.
Right? Yeah, if you want to be a little gaudy, you can put some gold leaf in there. High fives. All right. So
Well,
you guys
thank
can
you
get your
all.
credit for the Tejano passport.
Yeah, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
That was really nice. I really appreciate it. And it looks like we are going to be hopefully asking you all maybe for some more sessions in the future. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time today. Thank you.
Absolutely. Let us know.
Of course. And thanks for everybody for coming. I hope everybody has a great weekend, great Thanksgiving. There is a Tejano passport link in the chat for you guys to get points for coming today. And we did record the session, so it'll be on the Blackboard institution page. So if you want to go back in and get the recipe again, if you didn't write it down, or to see some other techniques, then you can go in and look at that video. Next week, we won't be having any workshops because, of course, the holidays. But the following week, for December 2nd, we're going to have a presentation on the 5 domains of healthy living. And also on the 4th, which is the Friday workshop, it's going to be techniques on test and presentation anxiety. So that'll be a good session for that right before finals. So, but again, thank you, Chef Guetta, Chef Nickerson, and all of your team. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good holiday.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.